All right, so we are going to Unit 10. Yes, we are skipping Unit 9. We'll do Unit 9 the week after spring break. So like the very last week of this quarter, we'll do Unit 9. Okay, we'll come back to it. Unit 10, topic 1 is attributes. Attributes are what we've done all year long. X-intercept, Y-intercept, domain, range, all those things, okay? This time, we have one new word. It's a word that you've heard all year long, and I told you, we'll get to it later, we'll get to it later. Now is later, okay? So, the word that we need to talk about is the word asymptote. An asymptote, okay? I did. It is recording. No thanks to you. All right, so an asymptote is a straight line. The graph approaches, which means it gets close to, but never touches. A straight line, the graph will get close to, but never touches. So we're gonna have, an exponential graph, like something gets exponentially bigger, meaning it's not just doubling or tripling, it is getting exponentially bigger. So like when I fold something in half, I get 2, and then if I fold a piece of paper in half again, I get 4, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? Or smaller and smaller and smaller. So we're going to draw 2 graphs. So graph number 1 is going to be an exponential graph. Exponential. I'm going to draw the graph. It doesn't have to be big, but I would not make it teeny tiny. That's for sure. Okay. And an exponential graph is going to have something that is straight, and then it's going to curve. I'm going to show you this on a real graph to prove to you that an asymptote never actually touches, because it's going to look like it does, but I promise it never, ever, ever touches it. So let me see if I can do this. My graph, okay, which that's the wrong graph. Hold please, because I was helping somebody earlier. X and X equals, I'm just kidding, Y equals. All right, so do you see I have a purple graph and I have a thick dark black line. I can change that black line so that you can see it. How about red? Does that work better? Okay. So the purple is my exponential graph. The red is what's called my asymptote, the line that my graph's going to get super close to, but it's never actually going to touch. It looks like it's touching. Do you agree with that? It looks like it's touching. That's because we've zoomed out so far. If I come over here and I zoom in and I zoom in, what do you see about those 2 lines? They're never actually going to touch, okay? So on paper and on a computer where this is not zoomed in, it looks like it's touching. And that's actually how you find your asymptote, is where my graph looks like it's going to run straight into an axis, not an axis, but a grid line, okay? So that is called the asymptote, where it looks like it is touching, but it never actually does. So back to our notes, we're going to draw something kind of like that, okay? So here is my exponential graph. This is my Y and X axis. Here is the straightest part of my graph, which is on the line 1, like my first grid line. So this is where my asymptote is. because that's the straightest part of my graph where it looks like it's going to touch, but it's not really touching, okay? An asymptote is a line. A line has to start with a letter. So is this graph going to say x equals or y equals? What axis does it cut? The y-axis. So it's cutting the y-axis at the number that it crossed, and we're going to say that's a 1 for one grid line up, okay? We're going to do domain and we're going to do range because these are kind of tricky for this. So the domain goes from the far left. How far left does my graph go? Positive or negative? Negative infinity. How far to the right does my graph go? Positive infinity, okay? Because those arrows are going to keep going and going and going. Range. Where's the bottom of my graph? What do you think? At the asymptote. It's at the asymptote, okay? The bottom of my graph is this asymptote. So 1 is the bottom of my graph. Do you think it's going to get a bracket or a parenthesis? Why? You're correct, but why? Why does it get a parenthesis? Because why? Well, it doesn't have to do with a point. What do we know about that graph? Is it going to go on the line? No, it's never going to touch it. So that parenthesis tells me it's going to get very, very close, but it can never actually equal the number 1, okay? And the top of my graph is all the way at positive infinity. So an exponential graph has an asymptote across the y-axis. Let's go look at a log graph. So a log graph, we're going to draw it. Okay. So my log graph is going to have a straight line and then it will curve. So a straight line and then it will curve. Okay, so now I need my asymptote. For a log, my asymptote is at the straightest part, but the straightest part is up and down. Okay, straightest part is up and down. So again, I can show you on here. Back to my graphs. Okay, so now I have red and green. Do you see my red line and how it looks like it's going to be exactly where my red asymptote is? But again, if I zoom in, and I zoomed really far out, whoa, it's gonna get there, I promise. Where's my graph? Oh, yikes, Miss Bailey, what did you do? What happened? Where'd my graph go? Y'all saw me. Oh, there it is. Ready? If I zoom in, you see it's never actually going to touch, right? It gets closer and closer and closer and closer, never actually touching. So for a log and an exponential, we have the same thing. It's just the different direction that it goes, okay? So let's write that down. So our asymptote for a log, what axis does it cut through? Cuts through the x-axis at a number, whatever number this is. We can just say 1 if we want to for today, okay? But on your grid, it's whatever number you're on. Domain. How far to the left does this graph go? To the asymptote. That's the furthest left it goes, and my asymptote is at 1. Does it get a bracket or a parenthesis? a parenthesis because it can't touch the asymptote, okay? How far to the right does it go? To infinity, very good. And my range, where's the bottom of this graph? Negative infinity, it's gonna keep going, 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 negative infinity. Where's the top of my graph? Positive infinity. It looks kind of confusing, but this does have an upward trend, meaning it is going up. So positive infinity, okay? I'll give you a little brief notes right here. If I make a lowercase e, like exponential, a lowercase e, this line that you drew first, the only straight line, goes left to right, which is your asymptote. And if I write the word log, do you see the straight L? That is the direction of your asymptote, okay? So if you remember E for exponential and L for log, those letters show you which way the asymptotes go. Questions? That's the only new material we are learning today, okay? So, number one, in your tablet, you will be in Schoology. Everybody today is on their tablet. Under Unit 10 Practice, Topic 1, it's the very first thing. It's a link. It's not a worksheet. It's a link, okay? The second thing, and I really hope you're listening, is you were supposed to do IXL today, and I told you I was going to keep moving those deadlines back. So your deadline for IXL is tomorrow at midnight. Cannot be this weekend. It is tomorrow. So if you did not get IXL done today, you have tomorrow to get it done. After tomorrow, it cannot be turned in. No late IXL grades. Everybody understand when the deadline for IXL is. And you people need to start looking at Schoology, because I posted something on there and said, if you like this, then you get extra credit. Only 4 people in this class read that little note on the update in Schoology to get extra credit. So you got to start reading in Schoology, checking your messages, checking those updates. That's where your teachers can post things. All right. All right, everybody in Schoology for me, please.